Hello, friends, and welcome to the show. I'm Joe, and today we're going to dissect, um, I think, some architecture, right? A model that shouldn't work according to the best educational consultants that I've bumped into. Either we're about to learn something, or we're going to watch a confirmation bias just being played out today. Let's listen in and watch. Please welcome Superintendent Dr. Christopher Meyrick to the show. How you doing, Chris?
Dr. Joe, I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Very good. Better than I deserve, as they say, right? Hey, let's
Absolutely.
cut straight to it. Here's my pursuit angle. You're running Woodstown Piles Grove Regional. You've got 1,400 kids, plus or minus. Yep. Rural New Jersey.
Yeah,
You spend not quite 20 grand per student. The state median is way above that, probably 25 grand per student. You're roughly at that 76% of average funding, as I've done just my looking into what's going on across your. That's like really trying to compete in a Formula One with a Honda Civic boss.
great analogy.
What's going on? How are you? Because I also look at your reading scores. I also look at some of your academic gains. You are making gains in a world where many others would say you're probably not supposed to, because funding equals student achievement.
For sure, for sure. So let me just actually give you. Let me go back even a step further, right? So I want to say one of the things that I live by is promising every Wolverine a future, right? So again, we are the Woodstown Piles Grove Regional School District. We are the Wolverines. But I'm going to ask you a quick question. Were you ever the food runner in elementary school? Were you ever, clapping out the erasers person in your school?
For real, you're going to
For
ask me
real.
that question.
I'm asking that question right
Yeah, I
now.
saw technology evolve from I was a clapper, a regular clapper, and then technology gave me a machine back in the janitor's closet that would actually kind of scrub the erasers. But
Yes,
I
yes,
was the
yes.
guy that did not, I probably didn't pass the OSHA tests or didn't wear safety goggles. But yeah, I was doing the erasers with the machine as well.
Awesome. So I'm
What's your
glad you say
point?
that.
What's your point, boss?
I'm glad you can relate, right? So again, I'm gonna bring you back to, 1986. I was a kindergarten, first grade student. I was a student with a lot of energy. As you'll see today, I won't sit still, right? I'm gonna always be moving, hand motions, those types of things. But my teachers, right? I had a great support staff, a kindergarten teacher, first grade, kindergarten, second grade, third grade, and they really built the foundation. And they really said to me, said, Chris, listen, if you can get that ADHD under control, the sky's the limit for you, right? So again, I look at it in terms of that promising ever Wolverine a future that was afforded to me, you know, 30, 40 years ago. And it's been my mission to pay it forward.
Wowzer. Well, you just mentioned ADHD, and that was not ACDC to those
Yeah.
folks out there listening in. We're going to drill into that a little bit more because you, in an earlier conversation, kind of broke that to me and just said, no, 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 it's kind of my superpower.
No,
So
great.
we want to learn a little bit more about that. But before you were made like this celebrity because before Woodstown, you were at Beach Haven,
Correct.
less than 100 students there
Yeah.
during COVID. You move students not off campus. You went well, you went to a beach location and
Yeah.
then just started to become this human interest story by people tracking. Wait, what? You're seeing enrollment gains during COVID? All
Yeah.
right. Hey, break the news to us. Was that
Oh,
fake or real?
unbelievably true story, right? Again, I always give the analogy we were trying to build a plane and fly it at the same time, right? So we're trying to navigate all these, unique situations that transpire with COVID, right? And again, if you look at it in terms of Beach Haven, we were a small community, right? We were a pre-K to six school district, and we sent into a larger district off the island. But when it got out that we were remaining open, right? That was the conversation I had with the board. How do we remain open? Because we know that our teachers spend 4 or 5 years in college, right, to teach students. Well, we were trying to give them 5, 6 hours on Zoom to be effective. So there's a disproportion there, right? So we're like, okay, how do we get them in school on a consistent basis? So all the way through, we kind of got creative with our scheduling. Like what space is not being used? How do we utilize the beach? How do we utilize our playground to make it a learning environment? So, what we did was we put an awning on the back of our building. We dropped that down. We got a smart board on wheels. Now we had a mobile outside classroom. When we had our, sustained silent reading time or independent reading time, we brought them to the beach, right? We said, okay, everyone bring their beach towel. We're going to go to the beach. You're going to read perfect, right? Again, just really harnessing the opportunities that we had and that we're afforded to. And again, unfortunately, that called on, or fortunately, that called on, and our attendance increased dramatically.
Yeah, here's what I'm seeing. I mean, you don't really play by the rules.
Yeah. Well, you got to push the limits, right?
You are definitely were pushed because there wasn't a model to follow,
There
and
was.
then you became the model that other
Yeah,
people.
so I mean, it was pretty amazing. I will say, we did get some recognition, right? Our governor did call in, so that was pretty cool. And probably the most exciting one was the Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger called in and had a conversation with our students because again, we focused on a lot of health and wellness, but again, putting those two together, being in 181 days, full days, all in person, we were the one of only a few schools that I'm aware of that stayed in. Again, we're over, 600 districts in the state of New Jersey.
Did you remember something specifically that Arnold had to say?
I think it was more for the staff and myself because the kids didn't really understand who this guy was.
Probably couldn't understand him either,
I
right?
mean, we try to explain, right? We try to explain, right? This is Mr. Olympia. We said this is an actor. We said this is the governor of
Governor of
California.
California.
Right? So I'll tell you the pretty cool part was the full circle moment was after that, I actually got to meet him in real life, right? So he actually came to Stock University where I played soccer. I went as a student. I adjunct there now. And one of my parents was like, "Hey, listen, Chris, we're back in the New Jersey area, and I'm with Arnold. He wants to meet you." And I go to him. I said, "Stop." I said, "Connor, are you telling me that you and Arnold were talking about me?" Like, I mean, like that was just a surreal moment. So I had an opportunity to meet with them, have a conversation, more so with the students. But then we went into a small little lounge area, and it was one of 10 people, and
Wow.
that was the moment. Like, man, we did some great things in Beach Haven.
Okay. Yeah, by transfer, you are now my greatest celebrity, the coolest person I've ever met.
I don't know about that.
Here's
You're
my theory, going back to the ADHD thing,
sure.
and my beloved wife doesn't struggle with it. It is one of the things that just makes her absolutely beautiful as well. I think it comes in really handy during crisis leadership.
Yeah,
I've watched her just like be able to react when other people would say reaction is not good. No, her reactions are spot on. Spot on, and just looking at your patterns and your track record and your success systems, you've taken, crisis situations and really just made some, delicious lemonade out of most. So, just, unpack that a little bit. How do you how are you thinking about crisis while it's happening? Give us a chance to just kinda walk around that beautiful mind of yours.
that's hard to say, right? Because if
Mm,
I look at my screens right now, I'm looking. I have like probably 20 tabs open, and again, I'm working within all 20 tabs at any course of the day, right? So one, I will say, and again, before I know we'll get there, but again, I've always had a great team, right? Again, I'm the lucky one that gets to report out, right? So, but when we look at situations, we got to look at it from multiple angles. And I say, my experience to get to what South Grove Regional School District has been a unique one, right? I was a special education teacher, I was a coach, I was an advisor. But then when I kind of transitioned to leadership, I was a building principal. And I say, quote unquote, I was so good that I didn't need an assistant principal. At least that's what my superintendent told me, right? And then I transitioned to Beach Haven. And again, I was a pre-K to six district one man band, so to speak, right? So I've had these opportunities to kind of see from multiple ends, right? So again, at Beach Haven, I was not only a superintendent, I was the building principal, I was, the CST director. Again, all these different areas gave me different perspectives. And I will say that kind of allowed me to kind of see the full picture, right?
mm,
So then it kind of
mhm.
like, okay, let's break this down. How do I look at it as a principal? How do I look at it as a director? And I'll say what put me, I would say, over the top was being a parent. right? Being a parent, a father of three, I can now look at it from that perspective as well. So I think that's those experiences kind of led me to looking at situations, being able to evaluate them, break them down, and then, you know, choose the best path forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get back to the economics here a little bit.
Yeah.
Touch down there one more time. You're spending probably close to $6,500 less per student than most average districts in New Jersey. And that's not really a rounding error. That's 23% below average for your 1,500 students. And you don't have average results. Your reading proficiency is up. You're above state average in math. You're matching state average in graduation rates. How are you building your success system? Um, yeah, that's the question that I
Yeah.
would like to ask.
I would say first is, keeping our conversation normed, right? So again, our conversations need to start with students first, right? So again, you could see probably in reverse, but it's promising ever will bring a future. When we talk
That's
about,
right behind you there. That's
yeah,
the
yeah,
okay.
right back
Say
there.
say it again. It's promising.
Every will bring a future,
Yeah,
right? So when
love
we
it.
when we look at that, that's our starting point with any conversation, right? Whether we're talking with the full admin team, we're talking about an individual building, or we're talking with the Board of Education. Our students got to be at the forefront of those conversations. If not, what are we doing, right? So I think in that terms, we look at it in terms of what do our students need to be successful, right? And again, as a former teacher, and again, I was a high school teacher. If you would have asked me this question, 20 some years ago, I would say, you know what? Everything's got to go right through the high school, right? That's our flagship building. That's our flagship school. The academics, the athletics, the arts all go through the high school. But now you ask me, 22 years later, I always recognize that we need to invest in the foundation, right? We're talking about our early elementary buildings, right? So we're
Yeah,
talking like a house, right? We have to make sure that foundation is strong. And what are we doing with our foundation, right? So we have a great team here. We're building out MTSS, right? Tiered system of supports at the elementary. Yes, we're focusing on the academics, right? That's obviously a key cog, but again, we're also focused on the social emotional learning, right? Because we know if the students don't have those procured skills of being able to have a conversation, they're able to develop relationships, the academics are going to suffer eventually, right? It's
so
going to
true.
eventually come to a head.
So
So
true.
we're investing our time and our energy at that level, right?
In
And then
fact,
also,
you
You did a really long book report on
yeah, somewhat,
SEL, didn't you?
yeah, a little bit, yeah. If you even read any about it, sorry about that.
No, my mother has read mine. That's, I think, the only other person. But
Yeah,
I think the truism there is you do the research and then you kind of live it out. You don't expect people to kind of read about it. You just put it into practice. And it sounds like you've done that at the origin of all things successful, which is
yeah,
you got to start early. Absolutely, got to that foundation, like you said.
yeah, and that's kind of where we invest a lot of our time and energy, right? So even the last couple years, again, hammering the elementary building. Now we're able to bring it up into our middle school, bring it up into our high school. It's even funny because we actually had to move our fifth grade out of the elementary school, move them into the middle school, and that was met with some resistance. But again, we had opportunity. Let's have a conversation about it. I'm not going to just say this is my edict. We're going to go with it. You're going to do what I say, so to speak. But we had a lengthy board meeting. As you can imagine, I'm sure you've had a couple in your career as well. And one of the conversations that kind of tied us all together was like, why are you building a new school? And I said to him, I said, listen, I said, that's a great point, great question. I said, but as a superintendent with 2 years of experience in the Woodstown Grove Regional School District, I said, that wasn't going to be my first response. We need to shake every tree first
Yeah,
and utilize our local budget, utilize the grants that we could procure to move forward. I said, eventually, there may be a conversation where we need to go out to referendum. But I said, in year one, year two, year three, that's not going to be my solution. And
I
it,
love that.
it and it shouldn't be my solution, right? So
I would imagine just many of your first moves just in garnered that trust across your community. They're always sniffing out. I mean, the new guy coming into the
yeah,
office of the superintendency, you've got about 100 days, right, to actually establish your credibility with your people,
right.
and for you to come in and just have a very just prudent, common sense approach that says we're going to be good stewards
Yeah.
of all of the resources and the talent that we have here. And I don't think you're done. I think you're still squeezing juice out of all of the potential there.
Yeah, and it's funny is because I actually had this conversation with my one of my board members yesterday, right? So we have community chats. So 3 times a year, I bring the community in. Hey, these are our hot topics. Here's just some information that we're going over, and we meet, the fall, winter, spring. We kind of parallel that with our student leader meetings, right? And I said in our very first meetings, our community chat, we had about 100, 120. We actually had to run a night session and a morning session. I said, but now we're in year 3 of it, and now this 3rd year iteration is maybe we have 15 families. And I said, yes, I want more to come in, but I said, I also look at it in a positive. Are we doing such great things that they now trust us, to your point? Like, are they trusting what we're doing? It's not just Chris Meyrick, the new superintendent, has his goals and his initiatives, and it's more of a collective. So I would
It
say,
is, it is. And how does that tie into this? What I would expect is a 3 to 5 year strategic plan. You've distilled that down to say 18 months is about as
yeah,
far as we're going to look.
we like sprints, right? And again, yeah, I like a good 5 mile run, a good boardwalk run at the beach. But we feel like we can accomplish the same amount in a shorter period of time, right? So again, if we break it down to 18 months, then we then break it down even further. Now we're looking at 3 6 month intervals, right? 6 month intervals or even 1 year sounds a lot less daunting than a 5 year traditional plan. And I go back to even COVID, Joe, right? Like,
Yeah.
did anyone have COVID on their strategic plan in 2020, 2021? So that's why the document's gotta be fluid. It's gotta be living, right? So again, you gotta be able to adjust. So
I love that. I think there's something special in my work. There's something special if you can see 3 years out. I think it's oftentimes a bit of an illusion for you to see 5 years out, just because there's too much VUCA in our world today.
correct.
There's
Yeah,
way too much volatility and uncertainty. But in 3 years, if you could kind of pin the tail on whatever that donkey is out there to
yeah,
go, I believe that that is the preferred future that we're gunning towards. But then to be able to backwards design that, like you have been able to do, to give people, because most don't really care much beyond the semester. Like, I can see as far as that break that we have coming up.
correct. Yeah, and that's kinda where we hit, like, now we're in our 2nd 18-month plan, right? And again, I said to the community, like, and our staff and our admin team, if we square 18, what do we get? Right? We get level 324. Now we should see exponential growth, right? So in the very beginning, we're focused on maybe 40 different areas, right? MTSS, gifted and talented, all those different programs. Now we're getting into more persistent practices. This is who we are as a district, and this is what we'll continue to look at, but and continue to improve for our students.
You are not typical.
Yeah, I got
And
a
that's
great
why
team,
I
Joe.
love bumping into your story, because you just see things a little bit differently. You're differentiated, I think is the word that I'd love to use. I mean, you played college soccer.
I did.
That's probably less than 1% of the world's population that have actually done that. You've shared openly, honestly. You've got ADHD. I'm not quite sure. You could probably share the stats of how many share that differentiator. And you started as a special ed teacher and quickly became a school superintendent.
Yeah, happened quick, Joe. Happened quick.
Yeah, I like your hair is blowing back. I mean, that's just not a typical
Going right on the
superintendent
time, but yeah.
profile.
Yeah.
It's not a typical. Athletes understand positioning and plays. I think you've still got that mindset of understanding what is the position that I play. You've got intense accountability, on the office. You've got intense complexity, because there's really not. I don't think there's a roadmap for what education must look like as we look 3 years out. Honestly, I
Yeah,
don't think any of the wisest, sagest
agreed.
leaders out there have any clue what that map ought to look like. But you're agile enough to go, we're going to figure it out at least one semester at a time.
Yeah, again, Joe, I know I go back to our team, right? We just have a great team and go into that soccer analogy, right? Sometimes you're going to have to be that forward. Sometimes you're going to have to be the center midfielder, right? Sometimes you're going to be the keeper. And guess what? Sometimes you're going to have to be the bench player, right? Because again, as a superintendent, you're not going to always be the smartest person in the room, and you probably shouldn't be the smartest person in the room,
Some
right?
would argue,
Right,
yes.
right. So the leadership comes, right? As a superintendent, we need to be the catalyst for these leaders to make them grow and spark their interest. Like, man, I really love data, and again, and just run with it. I really love MTSS. I love special education, building our programs. Boom, great. You got that support. Let's go with it. What are we going to do next? Right. So I think that's leadership.
It is. So let's go with that 3-year thing. Even though your 18-month plan falls a little bit short of that, but in 3 years, um, what do you believe is the preferred future for that beautiful district that you're running? What's it going to look like?
I just think endless opportunities, right? I think, we're going to stay true to our mission, right? Promising every Wolverine a future. And again, we have conversations with our students all the time. Like I said earlier, we have student leader meetings at the middle school, high school. What does
I
that
see
look
that.
like?
I see
Right.
that.
And again, I want to be able to listen to our students. And again, it's not just lip service. And that's why I told them, I said, like, here's the questions. This is what we're going to talk about. I want to know from you. I said, I'm going to treat you like I treat my 3 children, right? Just as I'm going to advocate for them in their schooling, I'm going to advocate for you. So if you're telling me, we want an esports team, we want a unified bowling team, got it, on it, right? And that's why I always tell our admin team, like, let's audit our programs. If no one's attending this club or no one's attending this activity, I'm not saying we remove it from the budget, but we get more creative. We don't just add another position. No, let's just repurpose that position for our students and their needs, their interests, to continue their interest, to get them here, right? That's the whole goal. Get them here first,
Mm-hmm.
relationships, and then we could educate them. So
Yes, I love that trajectory. Well, we're going to keep you as human as you really are. I always like to do a little lightning round with our guests. I wish we had a little bit more
I'm looking
time.
forward to this one.
Yeah, so your brain is built for this, man.
Uh,
No
with
overthinking. Okay, just
boundaries.
quick instincts. One
Okay.
sentence or a couple of words max. So a quote that you live by.
If you could believe it, you can achieve it.
A morning.
That's been
Yeah,
on my board since I was a little kid.
love it.
I mean, it was in my bedroom my childhood bedroom, and I still believe I read it every single day.
All right, boss. Morning person or night owl?
Absolutely morning, without question.
Before 6 o'clock, right? Before, more before six than most people do, or all
It's
day.
Yeah, so it's funny when my kids were little. Sorry, I know this is lightning round, but I had to sneak out of my bedroom because my daughter, my oldest daughter, is a morning person too. So I'm like trying to sneak out to get my run in before I go play dad. So
There we go. Sneaking out to get the run. One decision that you would make 10 times over.
having children,
Oh, doesn't that
absolutely
change
love it.
everything?
Game
Yeah.
changer. But again, gives you different perspective, even personally, obviously, right? But then even professionally, gives you that other lens, other perspective.
All right, New Jersey boy, pork roll or Taylor ham?
Always pork roll. Taylor ham is
Always.
when you get up North Jersey.
All right, all right. A guilty pleasure that you're kind of slightly embarrassed by.
Ah, man, this is gonna hurt. I will say, I like watching chick flicks, Joe. I will say that, I know Halloween's on the precipice, but I don't like to be scared. I'd rather laugh and have some mindless humor sometimes.
Chris, the chick flick guy. There it is. There it is. Your favorite hobby?
Soccer.
Soccer it is. You still
Yeah.
playing? Yeah.
I do. I actually now have kind of transitioned to more coaching my kids. So I coach my youngest daughter's team and my son's team. So that's
Fantastic.
fun.
How about the best lesson from college soccer?
I think we kind of touched on a little bit, but again, you're not always going to be the forward, right? You're not always going to be and be in the limelight, right? So it takes a team to win, right? And that's what we're doing at Woodstown, right? We have a team that is committed to promising every Wolverine a future, and that's what we're doing. So I think I take that same analogy and say, okay, some days you're going to be the guy, some days you're not going to be the guy, right? So understanding that we're here for one reason, we just have different titles, but we're here for students. So
Love it. Love it.
yeah.
When you're sneaking that run in, you've got one song in your playlist. It's your favorite song. What is it?
Matchbox 20 push. Always
There it
trying to
is.
strive to get better.
That lines up with that favorite saying of yours, right?
Yeah,
Hey, if
absolutely.
you weren't a superintendent, what would you be doing?
Architect. Definitely probably an architect.
I think you're doing a lot of that on the job there, boss.
Appreciate it.
One word for Woodstown Piles Grove's future.
I would say endless. Endless.
Love it.
Yeah.
And the last question, are you ready?
Okay.
Best career advice you ever received?
Get away from your desk, right? The emails will still be there. The parent phone calls will be there. The paperwork will be there. We're here for one reason, that's the students. So we got to make sure we interact with them on a daily basis.
Wow, that was impressive. Chris, thank
No,
you.
no, thank you, Joe.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. It was great.
Any last words for a superintendent out there that might also be a little bit shortchanged and looking at endless possibilities, and just a last little piece of pep talk for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I know we go to school to be a educational leader, but I don't think there's a singular document that you can lean on, right? And again, it's looking at your school, your district, your community, and kind of mapping that out, right? Always talk about differentiated instruction. Well, again, differentiated, superintendencies, right? Everything's going to have their uniqueness, but having a pulse on that, I think.
So if folks wanted to learn a little bit more,
You can, reach out through social media, email,
woodstown.org.
.org. Yes, absolutely.
There it is. Check that out, folks. Hey, that's the show. We're going to see you all next time. Thanks again, Chris. Peace.
Thanks, Joe. Take care.